How to write characters as a Gardner writer. After all, if you really follow the Gardner method of writing, you start writing with basically nothing, just with the bare idea. So who are these people you're talking about? Let's talk about this. If you're an architect, if you're a plotter, then you have an outline for your characters before you start writing the scene. In this way, you just look at what are the events, what are the actions that happen in the scene, and you apply this knowledge over there. And when you're done, you can even grab the scene and read it backwards, analyzing it, thinking to yourself, is this true to the idea of the character that I wanted to build? Is this believable that, this character here is this person outlined here? That sounds delightful, but it's really far away from my own writing experience and my own writing world. So for a Gardner like myself, or maybe yourself, you will start with an idea, and this idea, of course, will be populated by people, but you don't know who the people are. So give a high concept here. There's a famous surgeon, and he or she decides to leave this profession for some reason and create the best, most complex, most exquisite sock puppet show in the world. Cool, this is enough of a concept for you to start writing an entire trilogy. But who is this person? What are their motivations? What are their needs? How do they communicate? You don't know. And that's the point. And that is okay. Let's say that this is the first scene in your book, so you really have no idea of anything about this universe except for that one high concept. So you find a specific scene, a specific action that somebody will be performing, like your surgeon being fired from a hospital, or maybe your surgeon grabbing a beautiful sock and having this crazy idea for the first time. Beautiful, perfect. This is all you need to start writing. So you sit down with that idea, you will close your eyes, you will see what happens in front of you. You will see it. And it sounds like crazy talk because it is a bit crazy. Yes, you need to use your delusional self in your favor. So close your eyes and see how the scene plays out. Then open your eyes and write until the point that you stop seeing. Pause again, close your eyes, see what's gonna happen after what you just written. Continue. Cool. At first, my characters looked a bit bland to me. They didn't have much of a personality. I didn't know who they were. And that is absolutely fine. It's actually inevitable, right? If you're really following this strategy, you don't know who they are. If you happen to know who they are, you might be looking for the wrong kind of advice. You might be a plotter, which is great, or you might be one of these people who navigate both worlds, and I envy you. But if you're a Gardner, you probably have no idea who these people are, and they are going to tell you who they are, not the other way around. When I was writing the first scene ever in my book, the first one of all, and around my third page, I had been following the journey of this nameless, personality-less character, seeing interesting things and interacting with them. And on the third page, he cracked a joke. He didn't even say it, he just thought about it. And I was like, oh, interesting. That was the first gift this character gave me. That was the first hint of who he really was. And I didn't turn him into some sort of clown. That's not the point. I just held this information. Interesting. You're a person capable of this kind of humor. And as the story progressed, this character and my other characters were presenting me with little snippets of information. Oh, why did you get angry here? Oh my god, you were not afraid, but your two companions were scared. And little hints here and there, until the point that by pattern recognition, by looking back, not looking forward, but looking back, you start to understand who these people are. And eventually, you yourself will also have to use all of those techniques that the plotters use and every writer use to understand who your characters really are. What are their needs? What are their wants? What sort of lie do they believe about the world? This sort of thing. But for you, this is going to be different. It's more like reading somebody's memoir and trying to figure out who that person was in which aspects were you good, in which aspects were you not. But it's with a fictional character. It's a very interesting process, and my characters kept surprising me over and over. Some smaller details you will only figure out at the very end of the process. For example, I have 3 main characters, and I was not 100% sure what sort of idiomatic expression they would use. If they would say ah, or ooh, or or oh boy, which one of them do? I don't know, don't ask me. So what I did is I wrote any expression, didn't worry much about that, and when I got to the end of the book, when I wrote all of the scenes and I was revising, then I chose. Then I had a lot of material to work with, and then I just chose, oh yeah, this character is more of an O person, and this other one's more of a ooh person. And I went back to the scenes, and I made the adjustments when it was needed. And honestly, I made a lot of adjustments in the scenes that I wrote first, but I had written so much that by the end, it was very consistent. The ooh character was always saying ooh anyway. It doesn't have to be only expressions though. It could be anything about your characters, but generally the smaller details that you don't really need. The ooh or the ohs will not really change the way the scene progresses, I guess. Let's talk about names, because I had a lot of doubts and yeah, just bad feelings about this. My book doesn't have a lot of characters. I think 12, 3 main characters and a supporting cast. But just one of those characters gave me a name, just one. And all the others, I didn't know how to call them. And I was calling them horrible things like girl and boy and mustache boy for a while. And I felt really weird about this, and they felt not alive because they didn't have names. And in the end, you know what? This process didn't give me names. Really didn't. These characters didn't tell me their names, and I had to kind of randomly assign names to them. I still tried to do it not very symbolically and looking for the zodiac signs. No, I didn't use that. I just assigned names. I used names of people I knew in my life, and that these people were even somewhat loosely based on or reminded me of, and I just gave them, this is your name, this is your name, this is your name. Let's make sure the names are not similar to each other, because this is confusing, and you know what? This is how you call it now. Whatever. I guess what I'm trying to say is, sometimes, perhaps, your characters will not give you something that you need to write them. That, is absolutely necessary to carry on with that story in your style of writing. In that case, that's fine. First of all, give them some time. Give them some months, and give them a lot of scenes. See if eventually they will reveal that to you. Sometimes, like in my case, they will not. And then just assign whatever to them and see if they fit. Just tell your character, you know what, if you don't tell me what's your name, I'm just gonna call you Sarah, and I'm gonna see if you complain about it. If that doesn't go well, which happened to me as well, I gave a character a name, and the character sort of rejected that name. It didn't work. Cool, then try something else. Those characters are living, breathing things that inhabit your subconscious or unconscious. So let them be. Don't try to enslave them. They will tell you whatever they want to tell you. So if you really need something to write it down, just assign them randomly, okay? And try to establish a good relationship with them, which means establishing a good relationship with your own unconscious mind. Here's a pitfall that I've read some advice when I was just started writing, and it really helped me. Sometimes you will create a character, and if you follow this method I just mentioned, it's going to take a while. You're going to give him some time to grow from this vague idea of a character into a full person with personality, expressions, history, all that. And you'll realize that they are not interesting. And they're not interesting to you, they're not interested in the characters in the book, and they won't be interested to your readers. In that case, it is sort of your obligation as a good writer, as a pro writer, to cut them, to change them, to change the story, to adapt. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not because you closed your mind's eye, you opened your mind's eye, and you saw the scene exactly with this character that you need to keep them. Actually, if you close your eyes and open your mind's eye again tomorrow, you will see a completely new scene. And that is the beauty of this process. There are infinite ways you can finish a scene or a book. You can, change everything around your book. The only thing that you can't is to recognize that something is not interesting and just let them be. This you cannot do. You can do anything else. So if you feel a character is not working, even if they're developed, even if it took you time and effort to grow them out of thin air, you will have to cut them or change something in them. It's just the way it is. And it's also very freeing. It means that none of your characters needs to be great on your first try. Only on your last try that they really matter. Your first surgeon was obsessed about fame, and he wanted to be famous at all costs, thinking that being a plastic surgeon was a good way to reach that. But then, somewhere along the process, he understood that using the power of social media, doing some strange niche art was actually a quicker way to Vegas, where he could actually be famous. That was not interesting. So you created a surgeon that started to have delusional dreams involving his hands, and his hands would do those macabre dances in his dreams, and that started to affect his work. He couldn't work properly anymore. He was hurting people when he was having those thoughts when he was performing surgery. So then he decided to transform this problem, this curse, into a blessing and open a show. And your third surgeon was starting to lose the movements in his hands. But then when he let go, when he, just embraced a different state of mind, his hands would perform better than they ever did. But that doesn't really work for surgery. So he ended up losing his job, and now he needs to find something else to do with this new knowledge. Those are three very different characters from the same seed, and you're allowed to do that. You are. That's all I got for characters today. Thanks very much for your attention. I hope you found at least a tiny bit of a nugget of useful information in here, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks for the next video. Ciao.